Welcome to English Stories for Listening. This is the perfect place for anyone who loves to listen to stories while improving their English. Whether you're just starting out or looking to strengthen your skills, our stories are designed to help you practice listening and comprehension in a fun and relaxing way. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Now let's get started.
The Adventure of Max, the Lost Puppy. Max was a small puppy with big dreams. He had soft brown fur, a little pink nose, and his ears were so floppy that they almost touched the ground. Max loved his family and enjoyed playing in the garden every day. His family was kind and took good care of him. They fed him tasty food, played with him, and made sure he was always happy. One day the sun was shining brightly, and the sky was a beautiful shade of blue. The flowers in the garden were blooming, and the birds were singing sweet songs. It was the perfect day for an adventure. Max was in the garden sniffing around the flowers when he noticed something fluttering in the air. It was a bright yellow butterfly with delicate wings that seemed to sparkle in the sunlight. Max's eyes grew wide with excitement. He had never seen a butterfly so close before. "I want to play with it," Max thought. Without thinking, he started to chase the butterfly. He ran across the garden, his little legs moving as fast as they could. The butterfly floated just out of reach, teasing Max and leading him further and further away from his house. The butterfly flew over the fence, and Max, without a second thought, squeezed through a small hole in the fence to follow it. Now Max was outside the garden and on the street. But he didn't stop. He was too excited to catch the butterfly. Max ran past the tall trees, across the road and into a field of tall grass. The butterfly danced in the air, always just ahead of him. After what seemed like hours, Max finally stopped to catch his breath. He looked around and realized he was in a strange place. The field was vast and filled with tall grass that reached up to Max's ears. The trees were different from the ones near his home, and there were no familiar smells. Max's excitement turned into worry. He had chased the butterfly too far, and now he didn't know how to get back home. Max felt a little scared. He had never been so far from home before. What should I do? Max wondered. He decided to keep walking, hoping to find something familiar. As he walked through the field, he saw a squirrel running up a tree. Maybe the squirrel knows the way home, Max thought. He ran up to the tree and barked, trying to get the squirrel's attention. But the squirrel just looked down at Max, flicked its tail, and then disappeared into the branches. Max sighed and continued walking. After a while, he came to a small stream. The water was clear and Max was thirsty, so he stopped to drink. As he drank, he noticed his reflection in the water. His big brown eyes looked back at him, and he saw how tired and worried he looked. Max missed his family. He missed his warm bed, his toys, and the delicious food his family gave him. Just as Max was about to lose hope, he heard a soft voice. "Hello, little puppy, are you lost?" Max looked up and saw an old lady standing by the stream. She had a kind face, wrinkled with age, and she was holding a cane. Beside her was a small white dog that wagged its tail when it saw Max. Max wagged his tail too and barked softly. The old lady smiled and walked over to Max. She knelt down and patted him on the head. "You look like you've had a long day," she said. Max licked her hand, happy to find someone who seemed nice. The old lady looked around. "Where is your home, little one?" she asked. Max looked down, not sure how to tell her. The old lady seemed to understand. "Don't worry," she said kindly. "I'll help you find your way home." The old lady stood up and started walking, with Max and the little white dog following close behind. They walked through the field, and the old lady talked to Max as they went. "You know," she said, "I used to have a dog just like you when I was a little girl. He was always getting into trouble just like you." Max listened to her stories as they walked. He felt a little less scared with the old lady by his side. The sun was beginning to set, and the sky turned orange and pink. The air grew cooler and Max shivered a little. The old lady noticed and stopped walking. She took off her scarf and wrapped it around Max. "There you go," she said. "That should keep you warm." Max felt safe and cozy with the scarf around him. They continued walking until they reached the edge of the field. Max saw something familiar in the distance. It was the tall tree near his house. Max barked excitedly and ran ahead, his tail wagging furiously. The old lady smiled as she followed him. Max ran faster and faster until he reached his garden. His family was outside, looking worried. When they saw Max, they ran to him and picked him up, hugging him tightly. "Max, we were so worried about you," they cried. Max licked their faces, happy to be back home. The old lady arrived and smiled at the happy reunion. "Thank you so much for bringing Max back," Max's family said to her. "It was my pleasure," the old lady replied. "He's a good little puppy, just a bit adventurous." Max's family invited the old lady to stay for tea. They all sat in the garden, with Max curled up on his favourite blanket. As they sipped their tea, Max felt warm and loved. He knew he had learned an important lesson. It was fun to explore, but it was even better to be safe and close to home. Max looked up at the sky and saw the stars beginning to twinkle. He knew he would dream of his adventure that night, but he was happy to be back where he belonged, with his family. And from that day on, whenever Max saw a butterfly, he would watch it for a moment. But then he would remember his adventure and stay close to the garden where he knew he was safe.